Welcome to the Olive Grove Podcast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're looking at a really pivotal moment, I think, in the early days of the Jesus movement.
Absolutely. We're jumping into Acts chapter 12. And, for anyone familiar with Acts, this chapter is just packed. It shows this community under incredible pressure.
Right, and how their faith saw them through some, pretty astonishing events.
Exactly. It's a story about faith, about sticking with it, and maybe about interventions you just don't see coming.
So our mission today really is to unpack this chapter and see what it tells us even now. We're mostly sticking to Acts 12 itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so where does it start? It kicks off with King Herod Agrippa.
Yeah, Herod Agrippa the First.
Yeah.
And he starts actively persecuting the believers in Jerusalem.
The Messianic community, as they're often called, these early followers of Jesus.
Right. And the first major blow, Herod has Yaakov, that's James, John's brother, one of the inner circle disciples, killed.
Executed by the sword. And the text makes a point of saying this went down well with some of the Judean leadership or populace.
It seems so. It looks like Herod saw a chance to score some political points, basically.
Which apparently emboldened him. Because next he goes after Kepha.
Peter.
Yeah, Kepha, the rock. And again, we see the text using these Hebrew or Aramaic forms of the names Yaakov, Kepha. It feels very rooted in that specific time and place.
And the timing of Peter's arrest is interesting, too, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's during the days of Matzah, the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Which commemorates the Exodus from Egypt, a festival about liberation.
Exactly. So, arresting a leader during this time, maybe it was meant to send a message, or maybe Herod just figured it was a convenient time, but he knew he couldn't hold a trial immediately.
Because of the festival itself, right. A public trial and execution then could have caused serious unrest.
Precisely. So Peter gets thrown in jail to wait until after the festival week.
You can really sense the tension building. This messianic movement is growing. It's seen as a threat by both the Romans and the established Jewish authorities, yeah. And Herod's playing into that. And we should probably mention this isn't Herod the Great from the Nativity story. This is his grandson, Agrippa III. Different Herod, same sort of political maneuvering, maybe. Although, wait, I might need to double-check that connection to the Bethlehem Herod. Let me reread the source material. You know what? The original outline might have conflated them. Acts doesn't explicitly state this Herod Agrippa I ordered the killing in Bethlehem that was Herod the Great. Good catch to pause on that. This Herod Agrippa, I did persecute the church here.
Right, thanks for clarifying that. Important distinction.
Yeah.
But the point stands, this persecution was serious. James, Yaakov, one of the very first apostles, is martyred. It shows the danger they were in.
No question. And with Peter arrested, things look even more dire. He's put under intense guard.
How intense?
The text says 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. So 16 guys.
16 guards for one man. Herod wasn't taking any chances.
Nope. He clearly planned a public spectacle after Passover, probably expecting the same outcome as James.
But while Herod's making his plans, the believers are doing something else.
They are. The text says the community was making intense prayer to God for Peter.
That contrast is really striking, isn't it? Earthly power versus, prayer.
It really is. You've got Herod with his soldiers and his chains and the believers turning to God. It makes you think, where do we put our trust when things get tough?
And then, the night before the trial, something happens.
Yeah, something pretty extraordinary. An angel of the Lord just appears in the cell.
Right there in the prison, with all the guards.
Right there. Peter's asleep, chained between 2 soldiers, guards at the door, and suddenly there's this bright light and an angel.
What does the angel do?
Just taps Peter on the side, tells him, hurry, get up.
And the chains?
They just fall off his wrists. Like that.
Wow, just
Yeah.
fall off. The text draws a connection here, doesn't it? To salvation.
It does. This image of chains falling away. It's often seen as a picture of being freed from sin through Christ, a powerful metaphor for liberation.
It definitely shows God stepping in, regardless of Herod's plans.
Absolutely. It underlines that God is ultimately in control, even when human powers seem overwhelming. It wasn't just luck.
It sounds almost like a dream. And actually, Peter thought it was a dream or a vision at first.
He did. He couldn't quite process it was real, which is, pretty relatable.
Is that a lack of faith, do you think? Or
Yeah.
just human, reacting to something so completely outside normal experience?
I lean towards human. Sometimes when God works, it's so unexpected, so, miraculous, that it takes us a moment to catch up. to realize what's actually happening.
Like maybe we're looking for answers in one place, they come from somewhere totally different.
Exactly. The text kind of prompts us to think about those moments in our own lives, too, where maybe God is working in ways we don't immediately recognize.
So the angel tells him to get dressed, put on his sandals, his robe.
Yep, specific instructions. Follow me. And Peter, still a bit dazed, does it.
And they just walk out. Past the guards.
Past the first set of guards, then the second. Then they get to the main iron gate, the one leading out to the city. It opens for them. By itself.
Swings open, no one touching it.
That's what the text says. Just opens automatically. They walk out, go down one street.
And then the angel is gone.
Just like that. Vanishes.
And that's when it hits Peter. That this was real.
That's the moment, yeah. He fully realizes the Lord actually rescued him from Herod, from what the people expected to happen.
That dawning realization. It's quite a moment.
Yeah.
And the narrator, or Luke, writing Acts, makes a point here about recognition, right?
Yeah, about how sometimes we don't see God's hand in things straight away. We're maybe too focused on our own efforts or the problems, and we miss seeing what he's done, a bit like overlooking the huge thing Jesus did for us.
It's a call to slow down, maybe, to actually look and appreciate God's actions.
I think so. To shift from just striving ourselves to recognizing his work.
So Peter, now fully aware he's free, heads somewhere specific.
Right. He goes to the house of Miriam Mary, the mother of Yochanan, who's also called John Mark.
John Mark, who later travels with Paul and Barnabas, and traditionally wrote the Gospel of Mark.
That's the one. And notice, they're meeting in a home. Not a temple, not a synagogue, but a house. It shows how the early community operated.
And lots of people are there, praying.
Yes, praying for Peter, presumably. He knocks on the outer door.
And a servant girl comes. Rhoda,
yeah. She hears Peter's voice, and she recognizes it.
must have been unbelievable for her. Relief, shock.
Absolutely. She's so overjoyed, so excited.
That she leaves him standing outside.
Exactly. Doesn't even open the door, just runs back inside shouting, "Peter's at the door!"
You can just picture it. They're all inside, praying earnestly for Peter's release.
And the answer is literally knocking. But do they believe Rhoda?
Not a chance. They tell her, you're out of your mind.
It's such a human reaction, isn't it? They're praying for a miracle, but when it happens, they can't quite accept it.
Even when she insists, they rationalize it away. It must be his angel.
It really makes you think. How often do we pray, maybe hoping, but not truly expecting God to act? Jesus talked a lot about believing you've received what you ask for in prayer.
Meanwhile, Peter's still out there, knocking.
Probably wondering what's taking so long. Finally, they open the door.
And the reaction.
Astonishment, utter amazement. Peter has to signal for them to quiet down.
And then he tells them the whole story, how the Lord got him out.
Exactly. He recounts the escape. And then he gives an instruction.
What's that?
Tell Yaakov and the brothers. This Yaakov, James, is Jesus' brother, a key leader in the Jerusalem church by this time. Not the James who was killed earlier.
Ah, right. Different James. And he wants the news shared.
Yes. It highlights the importance of testimony, of sharing what God has done, encouraging the whole community.
So Peter leaves, goes somewhere else, and the next morning,
Chaos among the guards, understandably. Where's Peter?
Herod's furious, obviously.
Launches a full search, finds nothing. He grills the guards.
And the outcome for them isn't good?
No. Herod orders their execution. It shows his ruthlessness, his frustration that his plans were thwarted.
Herod then leaves Judea, goes down to Caesarea.
Yeah, spend some time there. And while he's there, there's some kind of political issue with the people of Tyre and Sidon?
They relied on Herod's territory for food, it seems.
Apparently so. They managed to get an audience with him seeking peace, possibly through one of Herod's officials named Blastus.
And Herod decides to make a grand public appearance.
Oh, yes. He puts on his royal robes, sits on his throne, gives this big speech.
And the crowd.
They go wild. Flattery, maybe, or maybe it was an impressive speech. They start shouting, "This is the voice of a god, not a man."
Uh-oh. That sounds like trouble.
Big trouble. Because Herod, he accepts it. He laps it up, doesn't give glory to God.
And the consequence is immediate.
Instantaneous. An angel of the Lord strikes him down right then and there. The text is quite graphic, says he was eaten by worms and died.
Wow. A really stark end. It's a powerful reminder about pride, about taking God's glory.
Definitely. It reinforces that God won't be mocked. Sometimes it seems like those who oppose God's work are thriving.
But this story shows that's not the final word. God's justice, his sovereignty, prevails in the end.
But even amidst all this drama, persecution, miraculous escape, judgment on Herod, what's the punchline for the movement itself?
Right after Herod's death, the very next verse says,
But the word of the Lord went on growing and being multiplied.
despite everything, despite the opposition, the executions, the threats, the message kept spreading.
It's unstoppable. And the chapter wraps up by mentioning Barnabas, Barnabba, and Saul, Shaul, soon to be Paul, returning from Jerusalem after delivering some aid.
And they bring John Mark Jokinen with them, setting the stage for the next phase of missionary journeys.
It just shows the resilience, doesn't it? The mission continues, it expands, even when things look bleak. And that need for community, for support, both spiritual, like the prayers, and practical,
Yeah.
it's timeless.
Absolutely. Which actually leads nicely into something we wanted to mention. Reflecting on this story, the prayers, support network, it highlights the importance of community.
It really does.
And if you're looking for that kind of connection, we'd love for you to check out the My Christian Space community. It's a place to connect with other believers, find encouragement, share experiences.
Yeah, building that kind of support is so vital. And speaking of support, especially practical support, we also wanted to tell you about Enduring Freedom Ministries, EFM.
They do fantastic work. Their focus is on meeting really basic essential needs. We're talking a hot meal, groceries, clothes, even things like a haircut or laundry services.
Things that offer dignity and real help to people who are struggling. It's very practical, very tangible support.
It really is. And you can actually partner with them quite easily. Get just $4 a month can provide all those things, the meal, groceries, clothes, haircut, laundry for one person.
$4, it makes a huge difference. So if you feel moved to support that kind of on-the-ground ministry, please do consider EFM. Every little bit helps them reach someone in need.
Definitely worth considering. So bringing it back to Acts 12, what are the big takeaways for you from this whole chapter?
Well, for me, it's God's clear care for his people, even in the worst circumstances. It's the undeniable power of prayer, especially communal prayer. And like we just said, the sheer unstoppable momentum of the gospel.
Yeah, I agree. God is active, prayer works, even when the people praying seem surprised by the answer. And the message spreads no matter what obstacles are thrown in its way.
It's a potent mix: godly intervention, human faithfulness through prayer, and the resilience of the message itself.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. How does this ancient story connect with you today? Are there situations, maybe prisons of a different kind, emotional, relational, financial, where you're longing for freedom?
And what role does your community, your prayer, play in facing those challenges? It's a story that I think still offers a lot of hope and perspective for us now.
Definitely. It challenges us, encourages us.
Well said.
If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more like it, please do subscribe to the Olive Grove podcast on YouTube. That way you won't miss our future conversations.
And we also drop these discussions early over on the My Christian Space website, so you can head there for early access and more content.
Thanks so much for joining us for this exploration of Acts 12.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Until next time, keep exploring, keep praying.